that would be great the entire time.
Horrible. Awful. The
Wonderful.
worst.
The best.
All right, let me let me pull up my list here.
So unprepared.
No. I'm trying to
Podcast
think,
was here.
I'm trying to think of an intro. Hold on.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We do need an intro, don't we?
A Minneapolis mill explosion in 1878. A mining disaster in West Virginia in 1907. A munitions explosion that occurred in 1944. Matt, what are yours? You gotta do one too.
Grover Shoe Factory disaster.
You got more than that. You got more than
Buffalo
that.
Creek flood.
You're terrible at
And,
intros. You're horrible at intros.
You actually sent me the wrong link here. This is not correct. What is this?
You're killing me.
Dawson,
anyway-
New Mexico suffers its first major disaster.
And is now a ghost town. That's right, everybody. You're here because it is Morbid Message Monday, the show brought to you by Tech Mess. My name is Jake.
And my name is Matt.
And we're here to bring you some weird things from history. Today, the topic is industrial disasters. Dead Man's Winter, what's going on? Welcome to the
Hey,
stream.
Dead Man's Winter.
So, without any further ado, I'm going to bring you on this very first industrial disaster, considered one of the worst of its time, the world's largest industrial disaster of 1878. And you know what it is. It is the Washburn Mill Explosion in 1878. On the evening of May 2nd, 1878, the Washburn Mill exploded in a fireball, hurling debris hundreds of feet into the air. In a matter of seconds, a series of thunderous explosions heard 10 miles away in St. Paul destroyed what had been Minneapolis's largest industrial building and the largest mill in the world, along with several adjacent flour mills. So the massive A mill was only 4 years old at the time, and it had been built by a guy named Cadwallader Washburn. He was a businessman from La Crosse, Wisconsin. All right. And it was built in the heart of Minneapolis on the Mississippi River near St. Anthony Falls. It was a 7-story building powered by river water, which was diverted through a canal that ran inside its lower level. With 200 workers, it was one of the city's largest employers. Now, on this fateful day, May 2nd, 1872, at 6 o'clock that evening, the mill's large day crew completed its shift. 14 men who made up the night crew arrived. An hour later, 3 deafening explosions echoed out, reverberating in waves all over town. All 14 workers were instantly killed. So just see ya. 7 stories of doom, essentially, for these poor guys. Within minutes, the fire had spread to the adjacent Diamond and Humboldt mills. They also exploded, killing a total of 4 more workers. Now, this is a pretty significant industrial disaster. And the reason, let me just say, I know this one sounds like pretty fucking out there. Why are you talking about this one? And it's because I wanted to bring you the lesser known industrial disasters, right? Maybe this one is not something you'd heard of. And that's not me being like, oh yeah, you probably don't know about it. But my point is, if we're going to bring you information, I want to bring you information maybe you hadn't heard of, something new. So the Washburn Mill explosion is pretty damn new. Now, something interesting about Cadwallader Washburn, the architect or the man who owned the building, he actually rushed down to Minneapolis because this building was like his pride and joy, right? So he made the promise that he would bring it back stronger than ever. I mean, he announced that he would rebuild it even as like the building was still in the process of not burning down, but the embers were still glowing, according to this article from MNOpedia.org, which is Minnesotapedia.org. Come on down to Minnesotapedia.org. And by 1880, he kept his word. His new A mill was up and running. It was safer and more technologically advanced than its predecessor, with a greater production capacity. And, the rest is history. But that is the story of the Washburn A Mill industrial disaster explosion of 1878.
It's crazy
Yeah.
how much flour does burn because, fun fact, the movie industry uses flour when they're making explosions.
That is true.
Stick a road flare inside of an air cannon and blow it out, and it causes a massive fireball. And coffee creamer, too. Powdered coffee creamer.
Which is pretty sweet, I mean, think about it.
It's pretty cool.
But it's not cool when it's something with...
when it's a
where
factory
you
full
work.
of human beings.
Yeah, and 18 of them
It's
died
not exactly what you want.
because of it. There's not a lot about how it happened because, I mean, obviously it was so long ago, there wasn't like a big investigation into it or anything like that. But apparently the city's fire department worked all night to contain the fire, but their efforts were actually futile. The heat was so intense that it prevented firefighters from setting up rigs and hoses close enough to the site. Like it was that hardcore of a fire. So, yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah. Oh wait, you know what? I'm gonna tell you right now. Actually, there is something. At the inquest into the deaths of the 18 workers, John A. Christian, the A Mill's manager, explained that rapidly burning flour dust had caused the disaster. So there you go.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Huh.
flour dust. Also, Cadwallader Washburn is a great name, and I love it.
It's a pretty
So-
great name. It's a good name.
Hopefully, he's not some horrible piece of shit. Because that
Sounds
would
like a
be
ghost we should be hunting in Phasmophobia.
Well, that's not too long from now, man.
No.
Anyway, Matt, bring us in on the next one here, man.
We're going to talk about another factory disaster. But this one, not exactly flour. This one was the Grover Shoe Factory. Grover Shoe Factory was an industrial explosion, building collapse. Fire killed 58 people and injured 150 when it leveled the R.B. Grover Shoe Factory in Brockton, Massachusetts. On March 20th, 1905, following a boiler explosion, the 4-story wooden building collapsed and the ruins burst into flames, incinerating workers trapped in the wreckage.
Jesus.
That is a nightmare. Is this something I always fear because of like water heaters and shit like that?
Yeah.
A little bit of backstory on the R.B. Grover. It was one of the largest shoe factories in Brockton. Not the biggest, but it was still pretty big. And the town actually had 35,000 shoe workers. That's a lot of people who make shoes.
It's a lot of shoes, man.
That's a lot of shoes.
Before they were all made in sweatshops. We're not going to get into
In
that.
China.
We'll leave that part alone. Real quick. Go ahead.
yeah.
Continue. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They're responsible for making the apparently very popular Emerson brand shoe, or they were popular for it.
I need those
but
Emerson
basically
kicks, my guy.
but basically what had happened is they got a new boiler that had to be flushed out as part of its regular maintenance. So they had to put their old boiler back into service. They had to get it up and running and going. And early that day, they were setting it up. They were heating it up, and everything was going. And one of the plant managers was like, "Hey, I'm hearing some strange noises from one of the radiators in the wall." And the same manager, Rockwell, had stepped out of the building, and his assistant assured everyone else that everything was fine and in order and good.
No worries, guys. We're all good here.
Not but a few minutes after saying that, the fucking thing exploded and rocketed up through 3 floors and the roof.
Whoa.
So this was on the 2nd floor, and it went up and through the roof. The flying boiler knocked over an elevated water tower at one of the buildings, and a full tank smashed through the roof, causing that end of the building to immediately collapse.
Jesus.
With the floors pancaking and the walls falling down on top of them. So it was basically a giant game of dominoes. Many workers who survived the initial explosion and collapse were trapped by the broken beams and heavy machinery. Burning coals thrown from the boiler's fire pit landed throughout the debris and started the fires, which was fed by broken gas lines. So this was just one horrible thing after another.
After another.
After another.
Like you said, it's a
The
domino
factor is
effect,
more-
man.
Right. The factory's more than 300 windows were blown out and created a chimney effect in parts of the factory that were still standing, resulting in the fire hot enough to melt iron pipes and radiators.
My God.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
The wooden floors were treated nightly with linseed oil to keep the dust down, and that's also apparently quite flammable. Along with high wind, this was just a really bad day for this to happen. Let's just be honest. High winds helped spread the fire in nearby storage sheds and neighboring buildings, including a hardware store and a rooming house. The firefighters arrived quickly, as did many local citizens, to watch the long timbers burn.
And
they were able to lift some of the wreckage, and they were able to lift some of the wreckage and rescue some workers before the flames reached them. But yeah, it killed quite a few people and injured very many, and it was considered like the biggest disaster of this town.
Good God.
I mean, just a horrible time. Just an awful time.
Just turn the factory into a crucible with oily wood? Nice. They had to.
Yes, absolutely.
That sounds about right. And speaking of turning a factory into a crucible with oily wood, I'm going to bring you all in on this next one. And real quick, before you ask, because I know you're all going to ask, where's the numbers? Why aren't you guys doing the numbers? Well, because we're not. And we decided that we're not going to do it. I liked it. It was kind of a fun idea, but then we're like, are we a listicle? You know what I mean? Or are we going to be, you know what I mean? So, we're not a listicle here. This is Morbid Message Monday. And I'm here to talk to you about the Monongah mining disaster of Monongah, West Virginia. It occurred on December 6th, 1907. And it's been described as the worst mining disaster in American history. And before we get too far into this, there are so many mining disasters in American history. Good
You learn
God.
anything from the show, don't work in a mine.
Yeah, don't work in a coal mine, people. I'm going to tell you that right now. Bad idea, because Jesus. I was looking through a list earlier today, a listicle, on the internet. And I don't know why I said on the internet. That's stupid. But I was looking at one today, and like I swear to God, like 9 out of the 15 were coal mining accidents. I was like, good Lord. Anyway,
Jesus.
This Monongah mining disaster occurred in Fairmont Coal Company's number 6 and number 8 mines, and was one of the contributing events leading to the creation of the United States Bureau of Mines. Just so you know. Now you know. On Friday, December 6, 1907, there were officially 367 men in 2 mines, although the actual number was much higher, as officially registered workers often took their children and their relatives into the mine to help. At 10:28 a.m., an explosion occurred that killed most of the men inside the mine literally instantly. Think about that. 10:28 a.m.,
Lord.
You're working, you're gone. Goodbye.
Boom.
See you later. The blast caused considerable damage to both the mine and the surface. The ventilation systems necessary to keep fresh air supplied to the mine were destroyed, along with many rail cars and other equipment. Inside the mine, the timbers supporting the roof were blown down, which caused further problems as the roof collapsed. An official cause of the explosion was not determined, but investigators at the time believed that an electrical spark or one of the miners' open flame lamps ignited coal dust or methane gas.
Isn't it crazy that they used to use that? Open flame lamps?
Yeah, in a coal mine where there's
Coal
methane
mine, of
gas.
all places.
Now, there were a few
Terrifying.
rescue attempts. During the early days of coal mining, time was of the essence to bring people out alive. The first volunteer rescuers entered the 2 mines 25 minutes after the initial explosion. Holy fuck. Can you imagine being one of those first initial people to go in? You're just literally walking through disintegrated bodies. I mean, can you even picture that, dude? That's corpses just
Metal.
everywhere. It's pretty metal, but it's also pretty depressing. The biggest threats to the rescuers were actually the fumes, particularly black damp, a mix of carbon dioxide and nitrogen that contains no oxygen, and white damp, which is just fucking carbon monoxide. The lack of breathing apparatuses at the time made venturing into the areas impossible. Like into like the further areas with the black damp and the white damp, it was impossible. So people could have been alive there, but simply died because nobody could get to them in time. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. They could actually only stay in the mine for about 15 minutes. Like some of the rescuers tried to cover their faces with their jackets or other pieces of cloth. But obviously there was no,
that ain't gonna help anything.
No saving it. The toxic fume problems were compounded by the infrastructural damage caused by the initial explosion. And in total, okay, here we go. There were, 367 men were in the mine, and that wasn't including their kids and their wives and God knows what else. One Polish miner was rescued, and 4 Italian miners escaped, leaving the total death toll at a shocking, staggering, horrific 362 dead in an instant.
That's a lot.
Leading this to be the biggest mining disaster in American history.
Damn.
Yeah. It's just like, wow, man. What a like horrible way to go. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's
incinerated.
I mean, you think about it. It's like, okay, maybe it's not the worst because you are incinerated. You probably don't feel a lot because you literally just got, you're dead. But I mean, like, you're already working your ass off. You're already there. Mm-hmm. You're already sweaty. You know what I mean? You're not sleeping. You're not making money. You're fucking covered in soot all the time. Yeah. You're being treated like a fucking slave in ways. I don't want to say slave, but you know what I mean. You're there.
For some of them, it was like a release.
For some of them, it was a way of life. That. Incinerating would be the best case death in this disaster. I agree.
No,
you're right.
Yeah. Instead of either suffocating because of toxic gas or collapse death, like a death under a collapse.
Yeah, like a boulder falling on you, or being stuck in the black damp or the white damp areas.
Right. Well, and you wouldn't last very long in those areas, but
you wouldn't. But I mean, it would be horrible the amount of time when you're there.
Oh no, you'd be alive while you died.
Also, don't bring open flame lamps into a fucking coal mine. The end. Thanks.
That's all they had back then,
and that's all they had. I get it, but like, goddamn, this is so dangerous. Coal mines. Where were the LEDs in 1907, man? Come on.
Right.
December 6th. Right before Christmas. What a terrible Christmas.
A lot of this shit happens before Christmas. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, man. The world is cruel like that.
Let's talk about another mine. One that didn't necessarily make headlines as the worst in the country, but definitely killed a town.
Literal town, right?
Dawson, also known as Mountain View, New Mexico, is a ghost town in Colfax County, New Mexico.
County.
United States. I'm going to say that because there's still people who don't understand that. Dawson was the site of 2 separate coal mining disasters in 1913 and 1923. It's located approximately 17 miles northeast of Cimarron. Dawson was also a coal mining company. That town, founded in 1901, when rancher John Barclay Dawson sold his coal-rich land in northern New Mexico to the Dawson Fuel Company.
Well, howdy, y'all. My name is John Barker Dawson. I'm here.
This guy sounds like he was running a monopoly. The Dawson Railway was built connecting to the town to Tucumcari. Oh, interesting. The mines were productive, and by 1905, the town boasted a population of nearly 2,000, later reaching 9,000. Evidently the town was pretty crazy because they built a hospital, a movie theater, tons of places to attract people to come work in the mines. Come here, live here. Beautiful town, work in the mines, live your life. You're all good.
We out here, it's beautiful. You know what I mean?
We out here, it's beautiful. But in 1913, things took a horrible turn. Dawson suffered its first major disaster. Stag Canyon Mine number 2 was shaken by an explosion that was felt more than 2 miles away in the town proper. Relief teams rushed from the surrounding communities as far away as Pittsburgh, Kansas, the Rock Springs, Wyoming,
Pittsburgh.
But of the
Kansas.
286 men who arrived to work at the Stag Canyon mine that morning, only 23 survived.
Fuck. That's
One
pretty
of the
gnarly.
survived miners. Yeah. One of the survived miners was George Marvroidis, born in
George
Crete.
Marvroidis.
He witnessed 16 men around him losing their lives before he himself lost consciousness. That's fucked.
Damn, dude.
He woke up the next morning in the mine office. Oh my God.
Oh, man.
Talk about needing therapy for the rest of your life.
100%. We didn't have
Dodge.
a long time either, probably.
Right? Phelps Dodge sent a special train from El Paso, Texas with doctors and nurses, but to no avail. No avail. Of the worker casualties, 146 were Italian and 36 were Greek.
Oh.
2 rescuers died in the rescue effort. It was later determined that the explosion was caused by a dynamite charge set off while the mine was in general operation, igniting a coal dust fume in the mine. This was in violation of mining safety laws. So somebody's fault.
Somebody's fault.
The other mines remained productive after the disaster of
great.
mine number 2. Then, on February 8th, 1923, the same fucking canyon, Stag Canyon Mine number 1, suffered an explosion.
Oh, another
A
one.
mine car derailed, knocking timbers and the electric trolley cables, causing sparks, igniting once again the coal dust. And
Of
123 people were killed in the explosion. Many of them were offspring of the men who died in 1913.
God damn.
Years ago.
It's a family thing.
That's shitty.
I didn't know dying in a mining disaster was hereditary. But
Apparently so.
God damn. I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
and it's literally a ghost town now too. I want to
Yeah, 27 years
preface
later,
here.
it closed.
This is a place that you can go and no one is.
Yeah.
Like no one's there. No one lives there. Dawson
Honestly,
is
I
a
kinda
literal
wanna visit
ghost
it
town. Yeah, I want to go see
We'll get
it.
tech
for
mess
sure.
from Dawson.
Yeah, hell yeah. Who wants to see a vlog? Tech mess does
Do a
Dawson.
vlog podcast. The closures were so they ended up closing the town. Everyone left. Mine 6 was like the largest producer, and then everything else that was smaller than that started closing and declining in demand.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
So they ended up closing them all.
It's a fucking cursed mine, dude. I mean, like, look.
It's a little cursed. That canyon. I wouldn't want to be in that canyon.
I mean, how many of those people who were the offspring of those from the 1913 explosion, their
Right.
significant others, it's a curse. It's a curse down there in Dawson. You don't want to be going down no Dawson, New Mexico.
So it
Nope.
was-
You're going to blow up.
Was it a boomtown?
Was it a
No, so they
boomtown?
built the town specifically for the miners. So this dude
Yeah.
with his bags of money built the town, built the train, did all this like pre-work, and then started having people come in. So he was like setting up shop.
He was a real piece of work, this guy. I mean, I don't like saying things like he was a real piece of work, but I mean, like, you got to realize.
Well, he wasn't a horrible person, it doesn't sound like. I mean, the fact that he sent an entire train full of doctors is pretty cool, but
That's very cool.
but
Your
your
what's
minds
his
were
death total?
cursed.
The death toll was like over 400 total, right?
Yeah, it's about 400 total if you count
Through
both,
all of
both
the
accidents.
explosions. Yeah,
It's pretty nuts.
that's a lot of explosions, man. And now it's not even a town at all. Now it's nothing. Now it's just there.
It's
It
dead.
exists, but it's nothing. Dami Lawrence, Dawson, New Mexico, now seen in ND. Yes. So yeah, no, we can go see it. That is a thing. Oh, well, Dawson, New Mexico. That is definitely some interesting stuff. Here's another interesting thing. There's a place in California called Port Chicago. I was confused by the name, personally. I was even more confused by the munitions explosion that occurred on July 17th, 1944. Oh, man. I'm too good at this. So, at the Port Chicago Naval Magazine in Port Chicago, California, munitions detonated while being loaded onto a cargo vessel bound for the Pacific Theater of Operations, killing, wait for it, 320 sailors and civilians. and injuring
We need
about
a body count up
300.
in the corner.
Yeah, I know. We should have a little body count. That's awful. We shouldn't. And injuring about 390 others. Approximately 2/3 of the dead injured were enlisted African American soldiers as well. A month later, unsafe conditions inspired hundreds of servicemen to refuse to load munitions as an act known as the Port Chicago Mutiny. 50 men, called the Port Chicago 50, were convicted of mutiny and sentenced to 15 years of prison and hard labor, as well as a dishonorable discharge. 47 of the 50
get blown up.
Yeah, 47 of the 50 were released January 1946. The remaining 3 served additional months in prison. Now,
Wow.
first of all, this is horrific. I mean, like, what? How does this even happen? You know what I mean? What a fucking crazy disaster. I mean, obviously there's like a lot here. So I'll get a little bit of the details for you guys. At 10 p.m. on July 17th, Division 3's 98 men were loading E.A. Bryan with 1,000 pound bombs, into the number 3 hold, 40 millimeter shells into the number 5 hold, and fragmentation cluster bombs into the number 4 hold. Incendiary bombs were being loaded as well. These bombs weighed 650 pounds each and were live. They had their fuses installed, meaning like they had their fuses installed, right?
Yeah.
The incendiary bombs were being loaded carefully, one at a time, into the number 1 hold, the hold with a winch brake that might still have been inoperative. Okay. So that's setting the stage, essentially, right? Now, and I'm not going to do this whole thing because there's a lot here. This is a great article from our friends over at Wikipedia. At 10:18 p.m., witnesses reported hearing a noise described as a metallic sound and rendering timbers such as made by a falling boom. Immediately afterward, an explosion occurred on the pier and a fire started. 5 to 7 seconds later, a more powerful explosion took place as the majority of the ordnance within and near the SS E.A. Bryan detonated in a fireball seen for literal miles. An Army Air Force's pilot flying in the area reported that the fireball was 3 miles in diameter. Okay, 3 miles in diameter, and this was what, 1944? 1944. Dude. Okay,
Yeah.
3 miles in diameter. Chunks of glowing hot metal and burning ordnance were flung over 12,000 feet into the air. What? Can you even imagine being there for this? The A. Brighton was completely destroyed, and the Quinault was blown out of the water, torn into sections, and thrown in several directions. The stern landed upside down in the water, 500 feet away. The inward and wait, hold on. The Coast Guard fireboat CG 60,014F 60014F. Was thrown 600 feet upriver where it sank. The pier, along with its boxcars, locomotive, rails, cargo, and men, were blasted into pieces. Nearby boxcars, waiting with their revetments is a word that I don't know very well, to be unloaded at midnight, were bent inward and crumpled by the force of the shock alone. The port's barracks and other buildings and much of the surrounding town were severely damaged. Shattered glass and a rain of jagged metal and undetonated munitions caused many more injuries among military waves traveling through the ground, determining the second larger event to be equivalent to an earthquake measuring 3.4 on the Richter magnitude scale. So, yeah. Now, I obviously I don't want to take away from the sheer size of this explosion or anything, but there were 50 men who were court-martialed because they refused to work 1 month after this.
Doesn't seem very fair, does it?
Nah. That being said, on June 11th, holy fucking shit, I didn't see this before. Oh my God. On June 11th, 2019, A concurrent resolution sponsored by U.S. Representative Marc Desaulniers was introduced in the 116th United States Congress. The resolution recognizes the victims of the explosion and officially exonerates the 50 court-martialed men by the Navy.
Well, that's good.
No, that is bad. It took that long to get these men exonerated.
Well, the United States government.
Port Chicago 50. Come on, man. Currently, I'm reading Indianapolis, which is an excellent book about an incredible tragedy. Mm-hmm. There's a big exoneration that happens there.
There's a good movie based on that too.
What is it? Is it the documentary? The documentary.
No, I think it's called I'm pretty sure it's called Indianapolis.
Interesting. Yeah, the USS Indianapolis. I don't even want to touch that one because that's a holy shit. My Lord. But yeah, the Port Chicago disaster. This one definitely stuck out to me, and I was like, you know what? More people need to hear about this because god damn.
Oh, and this is where you learn about stuff you didn't know that happened.
Yeah. Maybe you did know. I'm sure Panda Commander
I didn't know any of these. I mean, I was thinking, we'll talk about Titanic, but no.
And the funny thing is, I was like, okay, number one is going to be Chernobyl. And I was like, everyone knows Chernobyl.
Well, we talked about Chernobyl last week, didn't we?
Dude, I got a Doge V2 for $1 brand new. Excited. Hell yeah, that's awesome, man. We're driving by where you found the book right now. Nice. Yeah, I got this book from Page One. Page One, sponsor us, and I will read books on air. I know a lot of Navy stuff, not this one, so I learned new stuff. This was awesome. If I can if Panda Commander learns something new from this podcast, because listen, Panda Commander is a big history nerd, so I'm pretty stoked that you didn't know about this one.
Nice.
There we go. Cool. Matt, what else did Panda Commander not know about?
Well, hopefully he didn't know about this also related to a mine incident.
Allegedly. Hey, what's going on, Kels? Welcome to the stream.
Hey, Kels. So, the Buffalo Creek flood was a disaster that occurred on February 26, 1972, when a coal slurry impoundment dam, sounds like an awful concept.
Let me set the stage real quick for you. Yeah.
Managed by the Pittston, managed by the Pittston Coal Company and located on a hillside in Logan County, West Virginia, burst 4 days after having been declared satisfactory by the federal mine inspector.
I love when things are considered
Now, I'm sorry. Satisfactory is not. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing.
Especially not by U.S. standards.
Right. Anyway, this fucking thing exploded. It ripped open. And the resulting flood unleashed approximately 132 million gallons of black wastewater.
Yeah.
Cresting over 30 feet high. So this was basically a land-based tsunami.
Cool.
And it was unleashed upon the residents of 16 coal towns along Buffalo Creek Hollow.
Great.
Out of the population of 5,000 people, 125 were killed. Almost 1,200 were injured and over 4,000 left homeless. 507 houses were destroyed in addition to 44 mobile homes and 30 businesses. The disaster destroyed or damaged homes in Saunders, Pardee, Laredo, Conecuh, Lundale, Stowe, Kreitz, Latrobe, Robinette, Amherstdale, Becco, Franco, and a lot more other places.
I'm sure you butchered so many pronunciations.
I'm sure I misspelled half of those, but it's okay because they're gone now. They're still there. They were gone at the time.
It's okay because they got wiped out by this flood, right? That's okay. Fuck it.
Right. It's okay to misspell it. This is Morbid Message Mondays.
Morbid Message Monday.
In its legal filings, Pittston Coal referred to the accident as an act of God.
Yeah, not an act of bad safety violations.
Yeah. Basically, so it sounds like the creek started in 1968. When it failed, it was following heavy rains. The water from Dam 3 then overwhelmed Dams 2 and 1. And, again, Dominoes.
Yeah, domino effect. If there's something that I want to get across to every one of you here, coal mines are bad. Don't go. Don't work in a coal mine. The end. That's it. Especially not in the 1800s to early 1900s. And guys, normally this would be the end of the show, but I've got a little teaser. Not a teaser. It's not a teaser. What is the word? Oh? I've got a little bonus for you guys. I told you there were like a bunch of coal mining accidents. Now this is from PBS, and it's called The American Experience. And I'm gonna rapid fire. I'm gonna rapid fire coal mining accidents right at you. Okay? So, here we go. In May 1st, 1900, 200 men in a Pleasant Valley Coal Company mine lose their lives when 24 kegs of black powder accidentally explode. Let me see. That was the shoe factory. May 19th, 1902, an explosion at Freighterville coal mine takes the lives of at least 184 men. The cause was most likely a buildup of methane gas. Oh, look, more there. The Monongah one was also a coal mine. Let's see.
Don't work in a coal mine. For God's sake, please don't.
Yeah. Oh, okay. May 5th, 1910. A coal mine explosion traps 145 men, more than 80 of whom died. All right. So there's another coal mine for you. Dawson, New Mexico is a coal mine. Okay. A copper mine is not technically a coal mine, so I'm going to leave that one out. Let's see here. March 8th, 1924, a miner ignites a pocket of methane gas while lighting his safety lamp, causing an underground explosion that kills 172 men with something that has the word safety in it. Yeah.
That's just bad luck. What was he doing? He was lighting up his safety lamp to make sure he was safe, thus igniting a fire that killed everyone near him.
May 7th, 1935, 7 miners riding up an elevator are killed when a large boulder crashes down the shaft. Are you kidding me? Horrific. Can you... just going up the elevator. It's the end of a long day, you know. Jerry had a hard day, and we're gonna
at home for me.
We're gonna go right back home and see our lovely wives. Nope, you're gonna get crushed by a boulder in the elevator shaft. Let's see.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'm not even joking. March 25th, 1947, Centralia, Illinois, a coal mine explodes, killing 111 miners. Let me just... hundreds of people every time. Not every time, but most times when there's a mining explosion, hundreds die. And then the next big disaster, the next big mining disaster was November 20th, 1968, when 78 miners die in a mine explosion when dangerous accumulations of loose coal and coal dust spark an explosion that spreads throughout the entire mine. Oh, but after that, February 26, 1972 in Buffalo Creek, that we already said that one. So you already said that.
Yeah, that was
so that's
Creek.
Good. But in April 27, 1978, a partially constructed cooling tower at a coal power plant collapses and sends 51 men falling to their deaths. Deaths? Okay. So that's an oil refinery. And then we can get into oil, but we're going to leave that out there because, man, that's an episode all on its own. But the point here, people, is stay away from coal mines.
Stay away from coal mines. Invest in green energy. And like you're... Just don't.
Yeah, just don't.
You know Stay away. I have friends who go diving in mines, like cave diving to like do gems and stuff. I'm like, no, don't.
Stop that.
Just don't.
Stop your friends. Oh, wait. Last one, April 5th, 2010 in Montcole, West Virginia. 2010. So, 11 years ago. At the Upper Big Branch mine, 29 people died in an underground explosion after a methane gas leak reduces oxygen levels to deadly levels and eventually ignites. The mine had a history of safety violations. Big fucking surprise there. And who knows even how many we're seeing, right? Like after this. This article was published in 2011, people. Who knows what's happened in the past 10 years?
Yeah.
How many more coal mines have exploded?
I don't think we do as much below surface mining anymore as we do surface mining, because now we have machines that just grind the ground up
Yeah, which
But
introduces a
holy
whole
hell,
other
man.
series of problems, but we won't get into that.
20% of our power is coal. See, and that's a good thing because that means it's getting lower and lower because we need more green energy.
Text 7777777 says, "What in the world did I just stumble into?" Mine horror stories.
At least it wasn't us killing a turtle.
Tex, you didn't walk in on that, but you did walk in right in time for us to end this episode of Morbid Message Mondays Industrial Disasters Edition.
So
Guys,
true, man.
episode 2 is officially in the bag. And I gotta
Yes.
say, I'm pretty happy about it.
I
I really enjoy doing
I learned
this.
something. I
Yeah.
learned something. Somebody else learned something.
I think
I
my
am
goal.
thinking.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I am thinking we may turn this into a separate YouTube channel. I think so.
Maybe.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll have a we'll figure that out. It might be best on its
I
own.
think it will be because it doesn't really match with everything else we do. But I think
It's
this
still a
might
lot
be
of
its
fun.
own thing.
Yeah,
it's-
we'll still
is
do
a
it
lot of
live
fun. There's
here.
so much we can talk about.
We'll still do it live here. I know like barely anybody saw us for the first like 20 or so minutes of this podcast. But God, I enjoyed it. And my goal, our goal with this is that we want you to learn something new. So that's my goal. Every week you learn something new, something morbid. Maybe not even always morbid. It'll be Morbid Message Monday, but it could just be incredibly uncomfortable Message Monday. So, yeah, learn something new from your friends here at Tech Mess. We're not historians, we're not teachers, we don't claim to be, we never will be. But that's your Morbid Message Monday episode 2. Thank you so much for listening today, kindly viewer.
Thank
Matt,
you.
you
Thank
got
you so
anything
much.
else? Anything else for us?
I don't. I think we're good.
If you were listening during the daytime or the nighttime, anytime at all, I hope it was a great time. And we'll see you next time.
Let us know in the comments what you think.